Hello and welcome. I am the Suit&Tie Dip&ChewGuy, and this is going to be the second installment on the For Beginners playlist. I wasn't quite happy about missing a couple aspects in the video I did last night, so I'm going to add on to it here. I covered a lot, but there were a couple things that I missed that I shouldn't have, and also the video ran incredibly long, so I will be trying to do this shorter because I do have a review that I will be doing in a little while as well. Okay, so first part, pinching product, all right, and getting it out of the can. Using the Stoker's can, okay? The tobacco sitting in the can, let's say, is up to the warning label. The open space is the warning label. Now, yesterday I said I'm right-handed, so I put my finger in above the tobacco, and then I jam my thumb into the tobacco, and then pinch. What I didn't really put across, although I did add it in the description after I had recorded, is if you're having a problem. Now, for me, with Stoker's, just getting my two fingers in there, I mean, I could probably pinch this stuff out of the can with chopsticks if I really wanted to. And that's not any special, thing with me. Probably anybody could. But with other brands, I put the finger in above and the thumb into the tobacco. But if you're having problems, not only pinch this way, but sort of in towards the wall. Use the wall of the can, okay? So really, you're sort of coming out with like two sides of a triangle, and the third side of that triangle is the wall of the can, all right? So warning label's empty space. Everything else below is the tobacco. In at the top, jam your thumb in there, and pinch in. All right? If you're dealing with a fine cut or something, or you're having problems with that, there is another way to go about it, okay? This time, my thumb is not going into the tobacco, it's my finger. I'm approaching from the other side. So, I'm going to put the thumb in the open space. Let me see if I can get this. I'm going to put the thumb in the open space, and I'm going to bring the finger in, but I'm sort of going to come to the side like this. And I'm going to bring a third finger into play. I use it as the backer, all right? So you're going to pinch and pull in, all right? Basically what that does is it's a square instead of the triangle. You got three sides of the square, and the wall is the fourth side. Once you get into position there, sliding it in, thumbs in the open spot, finger goes in the tobacco, and then you sort of bring it around with this. Once you get it all play, like in position, tighten down on all three of the sides you have control over, all right? And it should come out. That is actually how I pinch fine cuts. All right. If you watch any of my fine cut reviews, I'm always backing it with a third finger. That is some of the cheaper long cuts how I had to do it. With fine cuts, somebody else was asking me about like how I go about pinching fine cuts. I'm not a fine cut person in general. I do use a couple products that are fine cut from time to time, but not nearly enough to be, a pro at it by any means. I usually back, and I usually fill. That is, I put the initial pinch in, and then I take a second and sometimes even a third, all right, till I get it to the point where there's the amount I want. Fine cuts for me, there are certain products I really like flavor-wise that the only way they come is fine cut. Copenhagen Snuff, the fine cut Stoker's Natural. But I don't use those to a point where I'll, I've used Copenhagen Snuff for, it was probably one of the first things I had. And that was, I don't even want to get into the first time. But I don't use them, I may have Copenhagen Snuff like 3 or 4 times a year. So I'm not going to, I never get really better at it. By the time I get it again, so many months have passed that any experience that I had gained on the previous can has sort of been lost over time. So, now, the second part of this, all right? Placing, all right? Now, I'm not saying there's any right or wrong way to do it. I mean, whatever gets the job done. There are a couple of the other channels that they do. Now, they're trying to get those huge hogs. And they do some deal where they get this huge pinch and then they go into their mouth to the cheek and then come forward. Okay, look, this isn't a contact sport, okay? I'm not trying to shove half my hand actually into my mouth, okay? So I front end load. That's what I call it, like front end loader, all right? I put it straight up front and then I position how I want. Traditional spots I do not put it to because I have pre-existing gum dental issues. Nothing to do with dipping that I am not trying to make worse. All right. So I usually leave it up front or push it all the way around to one side. In videos, just for the sake of talking, I usually push it around to one side. Sometimes when I'm not actually recording, I just leave it up front the whole time. So how I do that is, well, first of all, let me open this can up. All right. I'm doing pretty good this week. This is the second can of Stoker's that I have opened in the last 7 days. Mind you, this is my everyday dip. And normally, before this channel started, I was buying 2 tubs a month. Actually, I was going through a little more than 2 tubs a month, but basically, in any given month, I bought 2. But since this channel has started, I've been, exposed to products of, all varieties, such as Decade and Redwood. I don't get to have as much Stoker's as I used to. So, for anybody that hasn't seen a full can of Stoker's, that's what it's looking like. I do not pack it, as I said in the last video. So what I'm going to do here is, and without getting like too freaking like slow-mo freaking homoerotic, I'm going to try to show you. Okay, my jaw is going to come forward and my lip out. So I'm going to take a pinch and I'm going to go sort of past my lip towards the roof of my mouth and then bring it down at a different angle sort of into the lip. Once hands removed, I will push down with my tongue. All right. So basically, it's not just like your whole jaw sort of goes out. Okay. Now, mind you, this looks ridiculous, me showing you this, like holding the position. When I do it properly, like outdoors and whatnot, it's done. Okay. So you're going jaw out, lip out. You're going a little bit past, just past your teeth, okay? And then you just bring it down into the lip, and then pack with your tongue. So what that looks like, let me get some of this out here. I'm not going to do a big pinch because, okay, so basically, all right. And of course, I've messed my hand up again. Hold on for a moment. And I am back. Okay, so really, if I'm holding up front, this is basically the size of pinch I take, actually. I made it a little bit smaller. Now, sometimes if I'm outside, I will take more than that, but usually I will slide around to the side. So, once in the mouth, now I was talking about scooping and putting on. Stoker's, that's not even an issue. And again, I'm going to stress the brand that you're using is going to make all the difference here. All right? Stoker's and following Stoker's skull for getting out of the can at least, and also in the mouth, it stays, both of them, Skull and Stoker's, it stays firm. They don't spread. If they do get a little bit movement, you just go. All right, I'm just hitting it in from the sides. All right, yeah, you start using Longhorn, Redman dips, stuff like that, then you're doing the scoop up and put on top. And that's the long cuts. You don't even want to go beyond that. But really, Copenhagen is okay, pinching wise. The only thing that makes it better in my mind than the Skull product is the moisture levels are higher in Copenhagen, and Copenhagen products like the wintergreen and the mint are sweeter. But if you want a sweeter wintergreen or mint, you could go with the Skull Extra. Skull Extra, they have wintergreen and mint. But my everyday will always be for flavor alone, but you know, the cut is probably number 2 behind it, will always be Stoker's. It'll be the straight because of flavor, but Stoker's once, and that sort of, Stoker's actually sort of ruined other dips for me because I started with Stoker's. Basically, I dipped for a little while and I was bouncing all around then. And then I stopped for a while, but when I came back a number of years ago, I started with Stoker's. And once you start with Stoker's, it's sort of hard to go. Everybody else has a bad cut if you're used to Stoker's and it's all you've known. It's like new guys that are going out after high nicotine products. That's sort of going to ruin everything else. Okay, you go get the brown Siberia, and if it doesn't actually give you cardiac arrest and you start using that, nothing else except for that is going to really do. Okay? If you start at the top with something, anything below it isn't going to cut the cake, if you get what I'm saying. So, keep that in mind, but products definitely make all the difference when getting the product out of the can, and they make a difference in the mouth too. Okay, and that's why people complain about cuts, and when they're complaining, it's good reason. So that's about it, I guess. Hopefully I won't look back at this video and go, I miss what's it called. I'll have to do a part 3. Anyway, guys, I do hope everyone is well. I hope this is some sort of help. Do take care of yourselves, and as always, God bless.